Hey everyone, it's Tracy Martirana here from Holistic Wellness with Tracy. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm taking these fairly common ingredients and making a very delicious chickpea and cheddar chowder. Typically when I'm making soup, I'm just using ingredients that we have on hand and then I'm spicing them and flavoring them in a way that makes sense. So if I have tomatoes and corn and black beans, I might add more like Tex-Mex flavors. If I have a lot of veggies and I want to go more Italian, I add more Italian flavors like fresh basil and lots of garlic. Or sometimes I go Asian and I add a little soy sauce or a little sesame oil or just lots of ginger and garlic. This time is a little different though. I'm actually following a recipe to make this soup, which I never do. But over the winter, I came upon this recipe. It looked good. I had a bunch of chickpeas and I had, I think, pretty much everything on the ingredient list except for cream. So I had to run to the store to get cream. But other than that, I had everything on hand. So I decided to give it a go and it was delicious. So I'm making it again for you. I'm starting with my soup pot. Doing a couple little rounds of olive oil and then adding in half of an onion, like nicely chopped into small pieces. I'm using 3 to 4 celery stalks chopped up and then 3 to 4 carrots. Use what you have. If they're big, go for 3. If they're on the smaller size, go for 4. And then I'm also using this red bell pepper. And then I'm just cooking it until the veggies are soft. I'm actually even adding a little splash of water, putting the top on, letting them steam a little bit. And then once the veggies are starting to soften, I'm mincing in 4 cloves of garlic. Use more or less depending on what you like. And then I'm adding some spices. I'm adding about a half a teaspoon of salt and smoked paprika, a little bit of black pepper, and just a pinch of cayenne. I would recommend starting with a half a teaspoon. You can always add more later. As a matter of fact, I did come back and add probably another 1/4 of a teaspoon of both salt and the smoked paprika. Once this comes together, you can start to smell those spices. I'm adding in 2 baking potatoes that I peeled and diced and a box, which is about 4 cups of veggie broth. This is actually not chicken broth or no chicken broth. To thicken the soup, I'm going to be using about a cup of cream. It's probably a little bit less that I used, and a couple tablespoons of cornstarch. I warm that on the stove, whisking it around, and then this is what is going to make the chowder like nice and creamy and delicious. So I'm adding that in. And once everything is ready to go, I'm just going to add in the chickpeas. You could add them earlier, but I find they really just need to warm through. You don't need to go nuts. And then about a cup of freshly shredded cheddar. And I say freshly, that's hard to say. I say freshly shredded cheddar because when you buy the pre-shredded stuff, it has anti-caking material added in so it doesn't all stick together. So you don't end up buying one big clump of shredded cheese, but that means it doesn't melt as well. So I like to just grate up a block of cheap cheddar cheese. Things to think about that you might want to change up or do differently. You could do different beans. If you don't like chickpeas, you can use cannellini beans. Those would be great. You could add more protein with a 1/3 can of beans or add in some tofu or chicken. If you don't have the heavy cream or that just seems like it would be too rich, you can always use half and half. Add more veggies if that is your thing. There's many different ways that you can add a little variety to the soup, so pick what sounds good to you and give it a try. This chowder makes a delicious dinner. You can serve it with a salad or some homemade bread. I actually had bread that I toasted because I like a little something on the side. Fresh biscuits would be delicious. I topped it with just a little sprinkle of the cheese, but you could also use some fresh herbs, croutons, or even like pumpkin seeds would be delicious. I hope you will give this chowder a try. It is truly delicious.